We back.
Yeah!
Malcolm, this next joint. Can high school teachers and students see eye to eye?
Dun, dun, dun.
No, because either the teacher's a dick or the student's a dick.
Your choice. Pick.
All right. You ready? Let's see what happens here.
We were there once.
I don't know what the fuck they gonna ask them. Like, what the fuck? Do you think it's okay to give out homework every single night? God damn it! So yeah, start at 3, 2, 1.
I've definitely had experiences where it's like teachers could care less about what's going on.
You know what? That's a huge
That's the dude from the other
misconception
West Coast.
because I know, like, I'll talk to the students. You know,
I
they're
think
like, oh,
that's
such, Mrs. Such and such. You know, she hates my guts. I'm like, she doesn't. She speaks highly of you.
Middle ground.
Hi, I'm Douglas. I'm an English teacher. Specifically, I teach American literature and poetry. And I'm
I
also
gotta go back to one of our old videos.
Hi, I'm Chris, and
That look
I
like
recently
dude from the other
graduated high
video.
school.
I'm Ainsley, and I have been teaching for 8 years, and I teach math.
I'm Miranda. I'm a rising senior, and I'm looking forward to the college process.
My name's Arthur. I teach algebra in Santa Monica.
My name is Joelle. I'm a rising senior in high school, and I founded an organization that focuses on educating teens on sexual harassment and assault that's not in their health class.
That didn't help me.
It feels like scores are more important than learning.
Depending on what school district you in.
I definitely think as a math teacher, data is like extremely important. And I know that when I was teaching in the charter system, it was to the point that I think as teachers, we'd almost be like pitted against each other based on like how successful our classes were. And I started to realize that if I didn't care about the students' learning and their well-being, it didn't matter what they scored, because it was kind of like the score wasn't always representative of what the student knew.
Was it scores or sports?
Scores.
Scores. Okay. I thought it was sports. I'm sorry.
Not paying attention.
As a human, you can't just put a number to that person. It just doesn't make sense.
It's amazing because I'm one of those kids with like test anxiety. I can understand the topic completely, but when it comes time to take the test, it's gone. It's so hard to be like, I understand this, like what's wrong with me? Am I stupid? Like, why don't I get this? Like I get this one time a day, but then when the other comes around, it's like,
Yeah.
I mean, Quizlet saved my life. I'm not gonna lie, it saved my life. I used Quizlet, I used Khan Academy when I was stressed out, when I was feeling as if I was gonna break down. I used it. It was a good resource for me.
This year I took the CASP. I don't know if you guys
Yeah,
are
it
familiar
was
with
the
that.
Smarter Balance
It was the
test.
stupidest thing I've ever taken. I'm sorry. And so not only was it like, it was like Microsoft like 2008, like
yeah.
and mine stopped in the middle, and I was just saying, like, they poured so much time and money into this test that isn't indicative of anything at the end of the day. They're doing SAT, ACT, AP every year, and it's just bombarded on them. And it's not even representative success, because how many kids are spending thousands and thousands of dollars on prep for that, right? And not everyone has a privilege to afford that.
I feel like we feel the same way in regards to like a lot of the statewide tests, and the schools have to stay accredited, so they have to have these certain scores and the rankings and things like that. I also believe that they don't pay a lot of attention to the achievement gap. We have like the achievement gap consists of mostly African Americans, students with special needs. They're focusing on these different tests to make sure we have these scores, but not putting the resources in place to make sure those students are successful as well, so they can contribute to those scores.
Word. You know any test scores from high school?
Do I remember 'em? I don't remember 'em.
No. Okay.
But I know taking the SAT and the ACT was fucking stupid, because most of the material, most of the material that was on there
it's
wasn't
literally
like
about whatever they just said. It's
just random
school,
shit.
like funding for schools and making sure like enough kids and numbers, or if the case is for schools pass, or if the case is. That's all that shit is really about.
Yeah, it's stupid. The standardized test. testing shit is stupid because like it doesn't. Majority of the shit that's in the SAT or ACT, depending on what school you came from, they're not even covered in there. Like some of the material isn't like completely covered. Like they cover some stuff, but not all.
You take a phone call if you want to, nigga.
Huh? No.
Starting in a 3, 2, 1.
I work harder than people think.
I had to really think about that.
I know, same.
I was like, I pretty much worked my ass off for all my senior year, and I really wish that my teachers would actually see that when I had an assignment turned in, I would do it right away.
I agree with that. I think like it's not visible the amount of work that goes on behind it. Like if I would like maybe complain, talk about workload, or what I had to do, it would be like the response from my parents. Like although they're very understanding, it's like I came to this country with like this amount of money, like I worked 3 jobs, and I understand that. But we also need to understand that the college admissions process has changed dramatically, right?
Yeah.
Like the choices you make at age like 13 are indicative of what happens where you go.
For me, like on a daily basis or school life, my day consists of after school, when school is out, I do home instruction for the district for kids who can't make it to school. I also have like a private tutoring service, and I have a 6-year-old and a 3-month-year-old. So I'm
Damn.
up to like 12
like
in the morning.
Yeah, a lot.
Sending emails, talking to parents, and when parents call, they want to talk. It's like an hour conversation. So everyone works so hard. And people, they don't see, they see the fruits of it, but they don't see all the hard work that you put into it,
I've been using social media to kind of interact with my students. So I have like Instagram live tutoring for kids who can't do tutoring after school.
Cool. You're a cool
But
ass
I never
teacher.
realized that opened a whole door
cool as
of
hell.
like interactions and like them reaching out to me that is much harder than the basic just them coming after school and then they go home. I'm literally like in my PJs and tutoring them.
That's cool as hell.
Instagram live. I sense
We've
that
come
a lot
a
of my
long
teachers
fucking
were just
way
there to
with
teach,
like
and
technology.
I didn't want to be that teacher, and I think I've put a lot of pressure on myself to be different. But that's definitely increased my workload, even though my kids don't see that.
Hi.
Hi.
I work hard too. So our department as an English teacher is notorious for how much we do. So I think people are always trying to take things off of my plate. And I swear, every call I get from a parent or email, they always preface it with, I know you're busy, but do you mind? And I think I'm just very visible about how much I'm running around and whatnot. And so they really understand.
This is like the first time that I'm actually hearing like the teacher side. Like I couldn't like fully understand what it'd be like to be on call 24/7. Like that's insane to even think about.
It's hard when you're in school and that's all you know, that cyclical, like every day, this is what you're gonna do. It's so hard to kind of like step back to like realize that sometimes this is unhealthy. Like tutoring kids on Instagram Live seems like a super cool like thing. Like none of my teachers would do that, and I promise you that. But at the same time, it's kind of like I wonder what that's like for you being kind of on call 24/7.
And invading student space. Sometimes not saying that you do that. I'm like, oh, I'm thinking about doing some cool thing on Snapchat. My son was like, no, let your students alone. Stay out of it.
Pause. They made a couple good points. I can remember that Twitter, Instagram shit. It's funny how they was just saying like, I never realized that a teacher could have stuff going on outside of school, because you don't realize like, the teacher comes to school and work every day, but they also got a life. Like they got shit to go home to and shit like that. And I thought that was funny as hell. But that Instagram tutoring shit, that's fucking cool and smart as shit. Because all you gotta do, because that's the thing too, like now technology, like you really don't have to leave your home to learn, period. Anyway, even if you want to go to like a full-blown school, if the case is, you probably just sign up for some school with a membership or some shit like that, and you could do everything from your computer and the fucking iPad, and you will get your either degree, diploma, or whatever the case is, straight off the internet. So that's pretty cool, but that's the cool thing that she's doing, like live tutoring, because shit, all you gotta do is just like, all my students, whatever the case is,
I'm going over
all
this
live
subject,
and all this other blase shit, so that's pretty fucking cool, bro.
That's a good way of using. I know with like certain like, cause like I think when we were back in high school, they were starting to introduce like web based stuff. Cause like before we used to have like the physical part cards.
GIS shit.
Yeah, we had the physical like port cards and stuff like that, and then everything started to become like digital more and more. Like by I think like the senior year and stuff, and we was able to like communicate with the teacher,
Like,
upload assignments to like this fucking thing, cloud thing.
Whatever was the cloud back
then. Yeah,
they got shit on the cloud now.
Yeah. And like also like ask questions and all this other shit, but like now like even like talking to my friends and teachers and stuff too, like now they have whole fucking apps.
Yeah.
I think about like me and my kid,
it's called Class Dojo or some shit like that.
Yeah, you get to communicate with the teacher and like talk about like how your kid's doing in class and stuff like that. You can like see their progress and stuff.
They send videos and all type of shit.
Yeah, it's like wow, like now like everything's so like accessible.
That's great. That's cool. That's some cool shit on our part. Starting in a 3, 2, 1.
Teachers should care about more than academics.
I really agree with that. I think something that I've come to learn is that when I'm working with students, mental health is a huge thing that I think as teachers we have to take into consideration, especially because I see it more prevalent, like the struggles. You know, success is such a relative term, and we have to understand it together and collectively. It's not just like an A, a B. A grade doesn't determine that. So I totally agree with that.
The first time I actually got to see a therapist, and I think it's really important to provide these resources in schools, especially for students of color, where this topic like mental health is a taboo in homes. Like the first time I saw a therapist was because my English teacher referred me to one, and I was able to see it on campus. But that's because I had the privilege of having one in my school in the first place.
I've definitely had experiences where it's like teachers could care less about what's going on. They don't like to acknowledge the fact that I'm taking 6 other high-level classes, and those all come with 2 to 3 hours of homework a night.
You know what? That's a huge misconception, because I know like a bunch of teachers, they're phenomenal, and they like really care about the students. But I'll talk to the students, and they'll go, "Oh, Mrs. Such and Such, you know, she hates my guts." I'm like, "She doesn't. She speaks highly of you." But Mrs. Such and Such just gives tons of work for some reason, you know?
It's not necessarily about the amount of work, but it's also like that teacher-student relationship that you were talking about is, for me, or at least in my own experiences, it's been such a strong divide. I think the harsh reality is, for some people, it's a job and it's your tenure and it's this job security and like your benefits, and all of these other things put together, and at the same time, oh my God, this sounds corny, but like students are people too, and and it's like we have our own struggles.
I felt like just plain out like no one cared about me. My senior year was just like the most stressful thing in my entire life because I would say like I was up to like 2 a.m. trying to get assignments done and study for tests and just trying to pass, because I would say like the last 2 months of my senior year, I genuinely thought that I wasn't going to graduate, and I didn't know how I was going to tell my parents that their youngest kid, their baby, is not going to graduate high school, because I know it would break their hearts. I dealt with a lot of anxiety only because teachers would stack up assignments after assignments after assignments, and you know you would think that they would realize that, like you said, we're people, we have lives, like we deal with a lot of personal stuff on a daily basis.
I know what you're saying. Because I came up the same way. You know, I didn't have I got home and it was more like, oh, we had to go pump gas to get food, to put food in the refrigerator and things like that. So I'm trying to do my homework on the bus, before I even make it home. So it was that whole sense as well that school wasn't my first priority. So I try to understand that, especially students that are typically struggling behind on assignments and things like that. I try to do stuff like modify or excuse.
I'm that teacher though, like I'm real big on making sure they all have their materials. My mother worked at my school so I could go there, so I'm real big on your parents pay so much, so the least you can do is just come in prepared, right? And so this kid was like, he didn't have his stuff, so he wanted to talk to me outside. I was just going in on him. You know the rules, this. He's like, "Mr. Brown, my father died yesterday. I'm here because I can't be at home. But I wanted to tell you that I didn't have my stuff." And we both just broke down. And it just broke me because it's like, here I am trying to tell him what's important for my class. And the only reason why he was there because of how he felt about me. And he knew he would feel good in my class way better than being at home. And it just taught me so much.
Did,
I mean, I can understand like every one of their stories. Like, you got shit going on outside of the house. School is school. But your life is your life. Like, just because you show up every day for class and shit don't mean like everything is fine and dandy and peaches and shit outside of the motherfucker. So I understand that on like both parts. Because shit, a teacher can have a bad day just as well as a student can have a bad fucking day. So, yeah. That's all I got for that.
Yeah, I definitely hear them on both sides, especially what little girl was saying. Like, some of the teachers, like, there are some teachers that don't really give a fuck, and it's more about job security. Like, clearly, we had a teacher like that in school.
Which one?
A math teacher. We had a math teacher like that. I don't know if you...
Miss Dickens.
You're not supposed to say her name, dumbass.
I don't know her first name, shit.
Yeah, but like, why? Like, what was fucked up? Like, this teacher like did not care like whatsoever, and like she pretty much felt like the whole
She felt like a whole
senior.
class.
Yeah, she felt the whole senior class. Everybody that took her math class, and it's like the only people that didn't fail math were the people that didn't have her as a math teacher, which was like insane, and like she just literally just didn't give a fuck, and like she just was there to just collect the check and shit.
Yeah.
And what's crazy is like I remember like a group of us, so we was like talking about this one time when we was out, and we was saying that yeah, I feel like we suffered a lot for math. Like,
Oh, I suffer like a motherfucker.
yeah, when we got in college,
my
math
is
was horrible.
now. My math is like way bad because I had her, but then after her I had Mr. Leone.
Oh
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't learn shit in that math class. So, yeah, my shit suffered horribly.
yeah, I think when I had
I got
somebody
paid for my
else,
art, so I was happy.
yeah, when I had somebody else in math, I was like great, cause like it was crazy, cause like the people that was like top of the class, straight A's, and was getting fucking
E's and F's and shit.
yeah, an F. Like everybody had a fucking F in her class, and it was because of her, like the way she was and stuff. So like, but
I got my payback. She taught driving it. Scared the shit out of us.
you're a fucking idiot.
Well, it's true, man.
Yeah, is a hot teacher. She gonna have me in driver's ed.
I drove down Lake next to a CTA bus. Scared the dog shit.
Probably shit on her stuff.
Oh yeah. Started getting a 3-2.
Tension is not an effective form of punishment.
I'm not gonna lie. I think attention might be a.
Breakfast.
It depends on what you're doing.
Yeah.
I remember as a student numerous times being in detention, and I would get out of detention and it just feels like I just lost. I could have been in the classroom learning. I think it takes the student away from the learning. At our school, we don't even do the detention anymore. We have like circles and things like that, so if there is a problem, we'll
Like a restorative circle?
restorative justice. Yeah, we'll kind of like talk the problems out, what we can do next time.
To make a long story short, I was caught cheating on tests. She straight up just called me out in front of the whole class, and I was so embarrassed. But I feel like the more efficient way she should have done it is just after class. She should have just been like, "Hey, I saw what you did. What you did was wrong. You're gonna get points taken away from your grade. I just want to understand why you did it." She kicked me out of class like immediately. I went from honors chemistry to regular chemistry. So.
She kicked you out of the class as like a whole?
Yeah,
Like
like right away. Yeah, it's stupid. Yeah. I just felt like she had given up on me, and that's not something I feel like teachers should do.
What you say really matters, and it really impacts us. And hearing how you would like champion a student or make sure that they're being heard, that's super important. And I think that or at least in my experience, I've lacked teachers like that.
I work with a lot of freshmen that they struggle with the most is avocation. I'll go, why you didn't talk to your teacher about this grade? They're scared, like she's mean. Or I always always tell kids at the beginning of the school year, your parents trusted me enough to drop you off here for 7 hours, so you're just like my kid, you know? I got to treat you like my kid, so our relationship is important.
I love the fact that you have like a one-on-one relationship with your students, with you two, like, I think you guys for being the teachers who you are.
It helps me reflect on what I've done this year and my relationship with my students. And usually I only get to do that in my head, so to be able to talk to sharp students, caring students who really care about, like you said, the learning environment has really helped.
Hearing your guys' perspective moving forward, I have a little bit more insight as to like how to interact with students, and I really appreciate it. And also hearing the things that you guys said, I'm like really impressed with you guys. So thank you for sharing. Seriously, very well spoken. So yeah, thank you.
Nice meeting you.
A couple things. I think detention, depending on
The crime.
no, it's not even the crime. It just asks was it good or not. Nah, it depends. Like if you got shit going on the outside, like say you probably got a job in high school or some shit like that. Of course, that's gonna fuck you up.
Our detention was a lot different from theirs because they saying to take away from like school, like so they had like a whole hall, I guess, dedicated to that because like our detention was like after school.
But the thing is, like detention can also be like a good place because that's damn near probably why I got half of my work done when I went and shit. So I don't know. That's all, I'm looking on the fences about that one because it also just depends on like what type of detention.
What kind of structure the detention is?
Yeah. Because there's some detentions where it's just like it's literally just a kind of a fucking dumbass hangout.
Or
type
it's
situation.
just you like just sitting there not doing anything or something.
Yeah, so it always depends on what the case is. But damn, what the fuck I lost myself. Shit, I forgot. God damn, I forgot. But yeah, detention is it depends. That's all I'm saying. It's like when I was doing my work, and I go home, I ain't got shit to do. But chill. Damn, I was gonna say something else. I forgot. God damn it. Oh, how the kid was saying like having one-on-ones or having like one-on-ones with two student teachers and shit like that. I wonder how big their classroom sizes and shit are.
Yeah, because
how many students they
that's
got.
kind of hard to do.
Because all of them was teachers, but none of them was saying like they was just like a school counselor, what the case is. So it's kind of hard because like in Chicago, of course, we know schools are shut down, kids are added in other schools, shit like that. A whole lot of shit going on.
Yeah.
So it's probably like 30 to 40 students
in
to
one class.
teacher and shit like that. But then also, because you got to figure out the structure of their classroom, because they might just be. You know, some teachers that teach every single subject in that room with the same exact kids every single day and shit like that.
Yeah.
But when we was in high school, we go from class to class to class to class to class. And only teacher that we actually probably do see every day is the homeroom teacher.
Yeah.
And they're not teaching anything. They're just getting us ready for the next class or whatever the case was. Or whatever
end of the day or lunch or some shit. Yeah.
So it all depends, too, like on the structure of the classrooms because it's kind of hard to have a one-on-one with every single student. Of 30, 40 students, or whatever the case is, but then I guess classes probably are like an hour or 45 minutes or some shit like that. I don't remember. I don't know how long classes are.
So long ago.
But you having that interaction with those 30, 40, then you swap out for a whole nother 30, 40, then you swap out for a whole nother 30, 40. It's kind of hard to have that like one-on-one type of thing going on.
With different students.
Yeah. So that's kind of hard.
So it depends on your school, the
the
district,
school, the structure
of it.
Yeah, all that shit.